Day one of the regular season delivered a delicious dose of upsets, and I hope for the sake of the analysts and fans alike that we get some more excitement as I am joined by Emily Rand, Mark Z, and Hi for day two of our regular season action. 5 more games ahead of us today, but yesterday we saw lock-in champs fall, FlyQuest rise, and Immortals take us all a bit by surprise with a victory over Team Liquid. Let's dig deeper into that Immortals upset, Emily.
Yeah, so let's talk about my boy Revenge, who I brought up a few times on the lock-in as someone on IMT who was performing really well. He definitely showed up in this game, and IMT really put him in a position to succeed. I was super happy to see that kind of continue from his performances in lock-in to now that we're starting the regular season, and he was a massive part of this IMT upset.
I wanted to give a quick shout out to their bot lane too. I believe that's like their first game here, and they picked Blitzcrank out of all support champions. He is a really good counter into Tahm Kench actually, because I didn't know this until just 2 days ago, but apparently when Blitzcrank uses his ultimate, it deletes the shield. So when Tahm Kench uses his gray health, Blitzcrank just ultimates that, and then it's gone. And you can't eat someone that got hooked 10 feet away, right? So I love the Blitzcrank, pick more of it, and yeah.
And Destiny was doing work for me on my fantasy team, so you love to see it in the outset of his LCS career here. Moving right along, though, of course, came with it this fun interaction between Team Liquid, Alphari, and Revenge. Alphari, tongue-in-cheek to Perks' tweet, don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm going to go deathless. And then, of course, Mark turning the fan page, the Twitter into a fan page for Revenge.
I'm surprised how hard they went with it. You know, like I thought it was going to be a little cute thing, but like they're tweeting out plays. This is a legitimate fan page. That's like probably the best solo kill you could have gotten. How many impressions and like followers, you know, you're going to get from that single solo kill?
At least 1,000, I believe, was what we checked with the math.
Yeah, the TL bump.
Social media brilliance right there. Good on them for committing to the joke and the bet, if you will. From there, big conversation around EG versus 100 Thieves coming into the day yesterday. This was, Mark, the unofficial third-place match from the lock-in tournament.
Yeah, and it was back and forth and really looked like it. I mean, EG got off to a really hot start. They got a ton of kills early on, a lot of them coming from Sven Skaren, who was in the right place to pick up a couple of mistakes off 100 Thieves. But then I think we saw why 100 Thieves is so well respected with how they were able to come back into this game. You know, they were able to punish some misexecutions by EG, have some of their own good ones, and that's why they're such a treat to watch, because not only can they fall behind, or not only can they stomp the early game with a lot of their global plays, but if they fall behind, they know how to slow a game down and hang in it until they can find their own opportunities.
You talk about slowing a game down. That's another thing that jumped out from yesterday's games, Emily. In a direct comparison between the lock-in and week 1 of spring, I mean, it is a drastic difference in average game time.
I'm so sad because the thing I really wanted to see is like take that aggression, take that proactivity that we saw in lock-in tournament and bring it to the regular season, and we didn't necessarily see that yesterday. Maybe it's a bit I do think it's a bit unfair to judge the entire season already after one day. But I do hope that teams, as they find their footing, try out some more proactivity, especially in like the early to mid game, because I don't know, I was loving it in lock-in.
It's got to be those first day jitters, you know? Like when you go to school, you're sitting in class waiting for attendance, like you're nervous, right? They're about to call your name. You don't know how you should react. You got to see like who the cool kids are, who you can fit in with, who you can talk to. It's just first day jitters. Give them a couple of days and there'll be more blood.
Yeah, yesterday was, the first marks on the permanent record when it comes to the regular season win-loss. We came into the day expecting things to play out a lot like they did during the lock-in, which could be seen as ill-informed if you look at the rich history of preseason tournaments in other regions. Luckily, we've got Emily here to break it down for us.
Yeah, so I wanted to take a look at how well teams who have played in the Demacia Cup and the Kespa Cup have done in their subsequent regular seasons. So if you do well in the Demacia Cup, if you make finals, you are likely to make at least quarterfinals in the following split, which is a pretty good average. And then almost 40% of finalists make the finals of the following split. So, we see LPL teams use Demacia Cup as a way to test out players and test out different things, but also as kind of a final ceiling of like what their roster is going to be going forward in the regular season. And I think you see that based on results. Meanwhile, by contrast, the Kespa Cup is generally seen as more of almost like a last hurrah for some rosters. For a while, there's one team in ESC Ever that didn't even make it to the subsequent LCK split. However, they did go on to perform at a couple of IEMs. There's obviously a little bit of a drop off there comparing the percentage numbers. It's really interesting to me just to see how the regular season compares to these preseason tournaments, and looking at the way that teams treated the lock-in tournament. I actually was under the impression, talking to players and watching the games, that teams took this quite seriously.
Well, to go on with that, there's no reason why they wouldn't, right? For some of these players, 150,000 prize pool split between 5 ways, right? Is $30,000. I don't know about you guys, but that's a new car for me. And for the players, not all of them are making like $5 million, right? Or like even $1 million. Some of them are making, low 6 figures, which is still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but so is 30,000, right? So, you want a new car? Win the tournament. There you go.
I think on top of the financial incentive, I think the other thing to take into account is that a number of teams in this preseason tournament aren't fielding their full roster. And so I believe all top 4 were able to have their entire roster after week 1, whereas, teams like Immortals, CLG, and a couple others haven't. And so if there is any changes kind of from this tournament to the regular season, I would expect it to actually mostly due to that, just some teams having a little bit more of an advantage going into the tournament.
So really the question is, where does the LCS fall on the scale of LCK to LPL? We'll find out.
In the middle.
Yeah.
We'll find out at the end of the split. Now, today kicks off with FlyQuest coming off their win, looking to take down Evil Geniuses. We got 2 more games before another page in that all-important C9 versus TSM rivalry, followed, of course, by Immortals versus Golden Guardians to close out the day. Looking ahead, though, at that rivalry match in Game 4, we've got someone on the desk who was essential to building up TSM against C9 throughout the years. And, hi, there's one game that stands out in particular to me above all others. The one where you welcomed Bjergsen to the LCS with Teemo Mid. So it's story time, Hi. Hit me with it.
All right, so you know how when you're playing solo queue and you run into the one-trick ponies with these really frustrating characters? Well, there's this one guy called McCashDollar that mained Teemo back in the day, and it's very frustrating playing versus him because it's not like he destroyed you in lane phase with Teemo or anything like that, right? But it just comes 20 minutes, you're just walking in the bush, bam, you get slapped by a mushroom, bam, another mushroom. Back then, Teemo had like a 10-minute duration on his mushroom, so you just ran around mushroom the entire map. Yeah, he's not the strongest of team fighters, and you might see me getting killed here. I just want to put on record, I never got solo killed by him in this game, okay? My score doesn't look the greatest, but I won the game, and I never got solo killed. He just asked for help more than me, But
that speaks to your laning skills, honestly, because,
yeah,
you're probably going to get destroyed by that Gragas in this matchup, right?
That looks pretty frustrating to try and walk through that jungle and,
It is. It's just absurd. Yeah, the number of shrooms that are on the map right now.
Yeah, despite that, I'll still make plays. Check out this flash right here. Tell me this is not clean. This is like...
Oh, that's a flash.
That's pretty hard flash,
Rip.
Yeah, so...
I like the slow-mo on the Q auto, really high.
Yeah. I'd love to see more people pick up these
You hit
characters
that W key like a boss to run fast, bro. Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
We joke, we jest, but in reality, I mean, this was the game in a lot of ways that birthed the rivalry between 2 of the most dominant orgs in LCS history. And if we reflect, both of these orgs have been neck and neck for a lot of their time in the LCS. You'd say C9 probably starting it off a little bit more on a high, and then in more recent years, TSM kind of separating themselves, at least in the category of LCS titles.
I want to toss this out there that I believe, 9-6 versus TSM in playoff games as long as I played mid. Let's not bring up statistics of me in other roles, but yeah, my mid lane, good. The rest of the lanes, I don't know.
It's crazy to think about the history of these 2 teams, and it's definitely been TSM sided more recently, though, C9 did have a good last split, but what was crazy was, we were talking about the longest tenured players currently on these specific rosters. It's Blabber and Spica. And, we were talking about these players as, the new young bloods, it felt like just a couple months ago to me. And, now they are, the mainstays of the roster. It's really, really crazy to kind of wrap your head around how long this rivalry has been going on.
I mean, yeah, it is. It's completely wild to think about, High's departure, Meteos, Sneaky, Balls,
We're just
Elimination,
boomers now.
you know, and then that one remaining
Ray,
figure.
Impact, yeah.
Right. It's just the one remaining figure, though, of this whole rivalry being Bjergsen in the mid lane. And then again, with his departure and Speak Up being the next in the pecking order. Oh, my goodness. We are in a new era of the LCS. We are going to step away for a brief moment as we go. Take a breather while Mark brings us another edition of LoFi Place.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another chill, lo-fi big brain plays to study and appreciate. Let's take a look at some plays from Week 2 and Week 3 of Lock-In. In this fight versus TSM, Vulcan sits on Sword Art's Bard until he has enough stacks for the stun. Then he switches targets, flashing onto Lost for a pulverized headbutt into his team. Vulcan also begins the auto in midair, so his stretchy arm stun Lost when he lands. If he didn't do this, Lost maybe could have flash healed away to safety. This trample stacking works pretty well versus melee supports in lane phase, as well as on frontline tanks before flashing onto backline in team fights. From the same game, we have TSM's blind Baron attempt. People were mad about not having a pink for the pit and it failing, but overall this is still a smart play. It's important to note that they called for this immediately after losing a prolonged dragon situation. The last time C9 had been near the purple worm for vision control was a minute and a half ago, and even then, it's a reasonable assumption that C9 placed enough wards during the dragon situation to have cycled their topside wards. Though gold is close, TSM had been losing fights and C9 was one Drake from Seoul. Odds-wise, this is a heads-up play that could have kept them in the game, and is the kind of creative shot calling you want to see from behind. Another dope Baron play was the 100 Thieves Rise Realm Warp vs C9. They are slightly ahead in gold but have been struggling recently, and lose total mid-priority and Drake control to C9. They have 3 Drakes, so C9 tunnels on making sure they don't get the soul. 100 Thieves recognizes the over-rotation and take the blue wormhole for a free Baron. This leads to our final play later on in the game, where Huhi runs a clinic on being the primary engager versus a Taric double enchanter comp. The key is finding an engage threatening enough to make Taric pop ult, but still being able to get out. Ultimate, Phase Rush, and Chem Tank ensure Huhi kites out the duration of the invulnerability. Then he finds a re-engage before C9 enchanters can heal them all back up to full. Someone should really frame this play and put it in a textbook. That does it for chill, lo-fi big brain plays. If you try any of these plays out in solo queue and they work, make sure to shout out this segment. If you fail the plays, hey, no worries, it's all just a game anyways.
Welcome back to opening weekend of the LCS Split, where not only do the wins on the Rift matter, but so do the ones on the desk as we jump into another edition of Jeopardy! I hope the three of you are ready today, because these aren't the easiest questions in the world. We're also going to have some bonus points if you guys can give me some more specifics as well. We got 3 questions for you. First one's coming at you hot. What teams played in the first ever LCS match? Bonus points if you can tell me who won.
First ever. It's got to be like TSM.
I'm going to guess
right?
TSM CLG, because that was like the major rivalry back then.
Yeah, TSM wasn't in the first.
C9 wasn't in the league yet.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, and exactly. But remember LCS, right?
That'd be too easy, right? If you guys are gonna guess CLG, he said this.
This
was a
isn't
hard
some
question.
trickery where we're saying LCS,
Yeah.
not NA LCS, is it? This isn't some technicality.
Oh, no. Wait,
none
is
of that
it?
kind of
Yeah.
trickery. No. We are here in North
Okay.
America. We are here in
All
North
right.
America for the LCS. So the first North
Okay.
American LCS match. We've got Emily on CLG TSM. Mark, you agree? CLG TSM?
Yeah, I'm on the same board.
And
And
high?
bonus point, I'll say CLG won.
I'm gonna
Okay.
choose
Mark thinks CLG won.
Dignitas and Coast.
Dignitas Coast. Well, that would be a banger to kick it off with. Okay, Emily, and who do you think won the CLG TSM matchup?
At that time, so this is the Reggie roster.
Reggie and Hotshot still.
Yeah, woof. CLG, I think.
Okay, and hi, you said Dignitas Coast, right? Who won?
Coast.
Okay. Mark and Emily are correct. It was CLG versus TSM.
Not too hard.
CLG winning the game.
I'm retiring on top.
There it is.
Done.
1-1.
I'll see you
All
guys
right.
later.
Here's a really fun fact, though, about that very first game. I loved this when I read this. Hotshot did not set runes for that game.
Oh, I remember that game.
I remember
it was
that.
like Malphite, right?
Yeah, he played the first game of the LCS, did not set runes, and beat TSM while doing that. Next question. Which player had the most solo kills in the LCS lock-in tournament?
I think I know the answer.
Yeah.
But
I think Mark knows the answer as well. I will also be curious if you guys can give me the number of solo kills that this person had.
I thought it was Alfari. And
Okay.
I could be wrong, and I thought
How
it was
many-
I thought it was something insane, like 7 or 8 or 6, 4, something.
Okay, those are that's a wide range of numbers there, Mark. I'm going to have to have you narrow it down.
We'll go with
Maybe
we'll go big. We'll go 8. I don't know.
Okay. Mark says Alfari 8. Hi, what are you thinking?
Does solo kills not count bot lane then?
Yeah, I was
I don't
wondering
think
that.
2v2
What happens to
Sure.
bot
Yeah, no,
bot lane
2v2 would not
2v2s?
count. A 2v2 kill would not
Was it
count.
mid laner or a top laner? That's
All right,
good.
okay, he's
I
taking
feel
long.
like
Emily, what you
I feel like Jizuke had a lot of. Maybe he was just First Bloods. Because otherwise, I was gonna go Alfari, but then I was like, I want to go something different. Because I can't just match Mark.
It's right. You can
Y'all were in
you
lock.
can ride my coattails all the way.
Maybe it's just because I keep seeing the Insanity play in my head. I feel like Jizuke got more solo kills. I'll go with that. Whatever.
Okay.
I never paid
Someday
attention.
at 3. I don't know, man.
All right.
Bad at
The answer is Alfari. The correct number of solo kills, Mark, you were close. He made it all the way up to 9.
He got
over the
one more?
course
Oh.
of the lock-in tournament. So you were right in that it was an absurd number. Watching you count backwards was okay. Can you guess this? Who was the next highest in solo kills throughout the lock-in tournament?
I think it was like 4 because I remember him being like double, which is why. But I don't remember who it was.
Who do you think it was, though?
No idea.
Because also keep into account like games played and stuff, right? I mean, obviously Team Liquid being winners played more games than most.
Perks?
Cloud9.
I gotta say, did Mark see some kind of sheet where it showed the amount of...
Yeah, is he?
No,
how do
is
you
he
know this?
creeping on the answers?
He was popping off about Alfari solo kills during the tournament. So I remember he was like tracking the stat to some degree.
And-
So I kind of
and-
expected
Okay.
Mark to get that.
Azale's typing it in the Discord chat. He's like, you can tell who was paying attention in story meeting because we talked about this. Everyone, if you were paying attention,
Oh.
everyone knows this answer.
I wasn't there at the time.
I love the behind the scenes Discord flame from Azale. This is phenomenal. Okay, so the,
Wow,
the
Azale.
person with the second most, just as a fun fact, was actually Someday. And he did have 4 solo kills. So Alfari more than doubled, but it was interesting to me that it was one of the teams that got knocked out in the semifinals, still had a player with the second most solo kills. Also, both of those players, top laners. All right, third and final question. During the LCS lock-in tournament, which role had the highest average damage per minute?
It's got to be 80 carry easy, right?
Yeah.
Right? Am I crazy?
I
Is
mean,
it not top
I don't
lane?
tell you until all 3 of you guess.
I'm guessing top lane.
So High thinks top lane. Mark, you said 80 carry. And Emily?
I actually think it also might be top. Now that I think about it,
I'm
'Cause I feel like the
zero for-
DP. I feel like the DPN numbers coming out of top laners were really high.
It can also get inflated when like there's a tank versus a carry, and the carry's just slapping the tank all game. Like Gnar into a
Yeah.
matchup has like 1,000 damage per minute from all just laning phase hitting like a Scion or whatever, you know.
All right, so, but Mark, but are you still locked in on ADC?
Oh, I'm still going ADC.
Okay, so we got top, ADC top. The top laners are correct.
Nice.
This is the first time that top lane has ever been the highest damage per minute over the course of an LCS period. The average damage per minute was 445 damage per minute. Top lane has only ever been third in damage per minute in the LCS all time. So the fact that it jumped all the way up to first, I found quite interesting and surprising. Never first or second until the lock-in tournament. However, after yesterday's games, top is back down to third at 419 damage per minute. So as quick as they give it to us, they take it away. I don't know what that means or if that's indicative of, either the length of the games, which is something we talked about, or just the way that the meta is developing and the picks are flowing. That's going to do it for Jeopardy today, though. So turning our attention to the first game of the day. It's more than just 2 squads trying to prove themselves at the start of the split. It's more than a rivalry. It's something deeply woven into their DNAs. It's another clash of good versus evil. And Mark, I think it's only fair that we start where the meme itself did, in the jungle with our boy Sven Skaren.
Yeah, the progenitor of the live evil meme just typing that and responding it to everything. He had a really good day yesterday, actually. He, on the Udyr pick, was able to go and find a number of pretty easy kills, I guess you could say, about people not really respecting where he could be, kind of a couple face checks. But he did a really good job of trying to snowball that and kind of getting EG some more advantages. So overall, really good game out of Sven Skaren yesterday. And Jose Dioto, on the flip side for FlyQuest, also had a really good game on the Hecarim. It was a little bit slower pace, and it was more about team fighting and stuff for him, but he found a number of really good engages and opportunities to pick up kills.
Along with that, just the excitement of, I think, the player pickup and the energy, I think, that comes along with a player like Jose Dioto on FlyQuest. Going to be very interesting to see if they can bring the fight to the side of evil today. Emily, we wanted variety. We wanted variety coming into the split. FlyQuest, one of the teams most willing to give it to us. Enchanter in the bot lane yesterday.
Yeah, so FlyQuest was the first team to trot out Seraphine in the lock-in tournament, and we saw them playing it again here. Obviously, Diamond had played it. Johnson also played it in lock-in and played it again in this match. Seraphine, in my opinion, is broken. That's why we've seen her in almost every position. I know LCK has been throwing her mid now, which is very entertaining. So yeah, I mean, I think this was a good call from FlyQuest. I'm kind of surprised it got through against them, only because they were one of the teams that we saw playing it a lot in lock-in. But yeah, Seraphine is broken, guys. Higher priority on her, definitely.
I agree. Because my experience recently, okay, not to brag, but, I did win a very difficult Twitch Rivals tournament recently, and I pretty much played Seraphine Ziggs every game. If the enemy picks Seraphine, pick Ziggs. I promise you, it does well. It's a great lane. It scales better. It's fun. And if Seraphine's up, pick her as well. But, yeah.
All right, so you can blame High for the loss if you pick Ziggs into Seraphine and you take the L.
Well, you have to be good at Ziggs, right?
Oh, you have to. Okay,
just slide that in there, like you also have to be good.
Hey, how many good, right? Do you know that plays this well?
What about Teemo? How does Teemo do into it? No. From the bot lane to the top lane, though, let's talk about our featured matchup high. We've got Licorice versus Impact, two heavy hitters.
Right. Something I want to see this year from Impact is I want to see him playing more carry top laners. I took a look at his past 50 games. Out of those 50 games, 46 of them are on like tanky bruiser / tanks, and only 4 are on like squishy hard carries. He is a phenomenal tank player, and I'd love to see him do more carries just so that he has more playstyles to work with. Whereas with Licorice, we've seen him play Camille, we've seen him play Fiora, we've seen him play tanks, and he's good at all of those. Maybe he's not as good at tanks as Impact is. However, he has multiple playstyles, and I really like that from top laners, where they have the ability to do different playstyles. Because when you come to the world stage, right, you can't just pick a top laner like a tanky top every single game. You want to be able to have the option to counterpick your guy, whether it be a Quinn, the Vayne, whatever it may be. Having that counterpick playstyle where you can be a hard carry adds a lot of that diversity to your team. So I'd love to see Impact explore that role more this year. And I know he has the mechanics to do that. Hopefully his team allows him to this year.
To chime in there, we mentioned Camille in specific. I mean, that was what Licorice played yesterday, and afterwards was tweeting about how broken and unfair he thinks Camille is. Everyone was kind of dogpiling on about, just outplayed, the immobile carries in team fights by jumping on them. And so, that's something that Impact has played 4 times in North America in his career, and the last time was in 2018. And she has been a meta champion for so long now. There's so many comps that build around her, like the Galio Camille comps and all these different things. So, I definitely would love to see that as a champion specifically right now in this meta that Impact's willing to reach back into the past 4.
Now, those two teams will hit the rift in just a moment. But for those of you who are new to the LCS, being a 2-time finalist and currently undefeated aren't the only qualifications that make FlyQuest good. They've also run campaigns to save the Earth, with in-game performance last year tied to planting trees and saving reefs. TreeQuest planted 10,000 trees in the spring. SeaQuest became champions of the reef in summer. And in 2021, it's the only nature-related word that still fits the rhyme. It's BeeQuest. Time to save the bees, ladies and gentlemen. For every kill Ocean Drake and FlyQuest win, FlyQuest will be donating to the Bee Conservancy. And to date, have already raised over $1,000. We got to save the bees! We must.
These are cool.
I like honey.
I don't know about cool. Cool might be...
Bees are very cool.
I don't know if I've ever referred to a bee as cool, but important and necessary for natural life. That I can get on board.
There's a difference between like a bee and a murder hornet. I'm not a fan of the ladder.
Maybe I just can't distinguish.
James is annoying bees and then getting mad when they come back at him.
Picking fights with bees. All right, the real question is, did all that do-goodery from FlyQuest earn your prediction? Let's throw them up, all three of my analysts, and see what you got. What?
Nope.
Okay.
Wait, we all matched. This is so boring.
Hold up. Did you
Oh my
learn
God.
nothing? Did all of you learn nothing from yesterday?
I learned a lot. That's why these are my predictions.
No!
Wow.
What? How? Based on yesterday, how does this become the predictions? How are you all aligned?
Look, we all picked
don't know.
Immortals. They were really impressive yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we are analysts, Dash. We're professional
okay,
analysts.
you know what? Today is the day I officially enter the prediction game. All right, and I'm taking the opposite of every single one of your predictions except for Team Liquid, because Team Liquid's going to come back with a vengeance today and take a victory.
Did you learn
Every other
nothing
team.
from yesterday, James?
I know
I learned
that was
so much. I learned so much, and what I know is that you know nothing. Okay, but seriously, why are you all so aligned when yesterday went in a way that none of us really assumed it would?
I'll talk
say,
about why I went with EG, because
Yes,
I think EG FlyQuest is probably the close, or it was a close game for me to call, because FlyQuest looked a lot better. But I also think that EG was in a game that definitely dragged out. Yes, they made some mid to late game mistakes, but I still see them as a more cohesive unit right now than FlyQuest, despite the win-loss record.
I think FlyQuest outdrafted TSM yesterday pretty hard, actually. They got the Seraphine. I don't think that's going to go through this time. And if Johnson's on a more normal 80 carry and the rest of the team is like more standard, they should lose the game. But, you know, what do I
That's
know?
confidence if I've ever heard it. Hi, thank you very
What
much.
do I
Enough
know?
out of us. It's time to head over to the Casters Pastry and Azale as we get into game one.